Hey everybody, so glad you're here. We've got another story, so lend me your ear. We'll read about this and we'll learn about that. Sit back, relax, story time with Mr. Matt. So, the story we have today is another one that's a little bit more informational, but it's good to read fun stories and informational stories, and sometimes informational stories can be fun. So, this one is called Growing Up Seed to Apple by Jodie Shepherd. What does that mean, Jodie did? That's right. She's the author. She wrote the words. Apple. This is the fruit of an apple tree. Leaves. Leaves make the food for the tree. Trunk. The hard stem of the plant is called the trunk. Bark. Bark helps protect the tree. So right here, you can see the apples are the red things. The leaves are the green things. You guys probably know that. And then the trunk is this part. That's like the main strong, sturdy part of the tree. It's the stem. And the bark is what covers the trunk and protects it from bugs and diseases and stuff like that. So without the bark, the tree would have a hard time living. So the bark's pretty important too. A special tree. This beautiful tree is filled with apples. It is an apple tree. Like all trees, an apple tree is a woody plant. It has a stem and leaves. The apple tree is deciduous. Its leaves fall off in autumn and grow back in the spring. That's what deciduous means. It means that the leaves fall off in the autumn and grow back in the spring. So it kind of looks like the tree dies, but it doesn't necessarily die. It kind of goes into like a hibernation. The apple tree also has blossoms. Each blossom can grow an apple. So the blossoms are the flowers that you see grow on trees earlier in the year. And then those blossoms start to turn into apples. So here we have a leaf. This is the stem. This is the skin, the outside. Some people don't like to eat the skin, so they'll peel it. These are the seed chambers right there. And these are the seeds. There are 5 to 13 seeds in each apple. The more seeds there are, the more likely a tree is to grow. I don't know if you knew that or not. It says apples are grown all over the world. Yummy fruit. There are many different types of apples. Some are sweet and crunchy, others are crisp and tart. Apples may have pink, red, yellow, green, or even dark purple skin. Dark purple. Have you ever seen an apple with dark purple? I haven't, but I believe that they exist. But they all have some things in common. Inside each apple, you will find 5 seed chambers that contain the seeds. Yeah, if you cut an apple open, it looks like there's a star inside, but it's actually the seed chambers, and they hold 1 or 2 seeds each. That's pretty cool. It starts with a seed. A seed is buried in the soil. When warm weather comes, the seed splits open. A root begins to grow down into the earth. The root takes in water and nutrients from the soil. Nutrients is like it's like your minerals and vitamins and all the stuff that keeps you healthy. It's like eating healthy food. That healthy food has nutrients in it. That feeds the stem and the leaves of the growing plant. As the tree gets larger and stronger, so does its root system. And see over here it shows the leaf. That's the stem. And the seed, that's what the seed, the leaves and the stem grows out of the seed, and so does the root. The root is down here. So the root grows out and down, and the stem grows out and up. And then it grows the leaves. A baby tree is called a seedling. The seedling, the stem continues to grow taller and more leaves appear. The seedling or baby tree needs plenty of food and energy. The tree uses sunlight, air, and water to make food. That process is called photosynthesis. Different kinds of apple trees grow at different speeds. 1 to 2 feet per year is about average. You guys, did you hear that really big word? It's called photosynthesis. It's a hard word to say for some people. It was I just stumbled over it, and that's what the seed or the seedling uses to make its food. It uses sunlight, air, and water, and then that process is called photosynthesis. So it makes its own food. Most apple blossoms start out pale pink, then they fade to white. The blossoms, a few years pass, the tree has grown tall and strong. When spring comes, the tree grows apple blossoms. First, tiny buds cover the branches. Then the buds open into pretty blossoms. Each blossom has 5 petals. A beautiful scent fills the air. So they start off as buds, which are like you can kind of see them right there. And then those open up and the blossoms come out, and then the blossoms open up. And they start off kind of a pale pinkish color like this. And then they start fading to white. I didn't know that apple blossoms had 5 petals. That I learned something new today. Did you know that? The pistil holds the female parts of the flower. Stamens, they are the male parts of the flower. They make pollen. Inside the blossom, long stamens are found in the middle of every blossom. They make a yellow powder called pollen. There is also a pistil inside each blossom. Pollen from the blossoms on one apple tree must be carried to pistils on another tree. Only then will the apples start to grow. So these are the pistils, and the stamen are up here. And these are the petals. And so in order for it to pollinate, somehow the pistil, the pollen has to get from one stamen to another flowers, like over here, say, pistil. And they have to, they mix, and then that is how they pollinate. And that's how they produce fruit. An apple tree grows blossoms when it reaches 5 to 8 years old. Only then is it able to grow apples. See, a lot of times the bees will haul the flower or the pollen from one flower to another one. That's how they pollinate. Sometimes it's like the wind or something like that too, but bees are very important for pollination. That's why it's good to not kill bees when you see them, because they're very important for pollinating our flowers and our plants. Plus, if you leave them alone, they usually leave you alone. Helper bees. Pollen can't move from blossom to blossom by itself. Sometimes the wind blows it, but most of the time, bees do the job. They collect sweet nectar from apple blossoms. When the bees visit the blossoms, pollen sticks to their bodies. The bees fly from tree to tree and from blossom to blossom. Pollen falls off, it tumbles down to the bottom of the pistils. That is called pollination. We just talked about that. See, if you look closely, you can see that the bee has pollen all over its underside right there because those hairs grab the pollen and then it can also fall off down onto the other one. And then here it says the sweet smell of the blossom helps attract bees. So that's why sometimes you'll see bees and they'll come flying around you. It might be because you smell sweet or you smell like flowers and they won't leave you alone. They keep buzzing around you. They might think that you have a flower on you or you are a flower. The apple grows. The apple blossoms have finished their work. The petals fall from the tree. A small fruit begins to grow at the top of the blossom stem. First, the core forms. Little by little, the rest of the apple takes shape around the core. All summer long, the apples grow larger. In fall, they are finally ripe. So this is the starting part. This is how an apple looks when it's just starting out. It's after the blossoms. After the blossoms fall, this is what an apple looks like. And then oops, move the camera there. And then it gets a little bit bigger, and you can see it's starting to turn red. It just starts to turn red. And then it turns even more red, and it's much bigger. And that's usually when an apple is ripe, when it's really big and it's mostly red, unless it's a different color apple. Like there's yellow apples and purple apples and green apples. Aphids are among the most common apple tree pests. So aphids are like a little bug. Actually, ladybugs like to eat aphids. If you've ever read the story, The Very Angry Ladybug, that story they talk about eating aphids. Caterpillars leave holes behind when they've been inside an apple. So you can kind of see the apple hole. The apple has a hole right there if you look closely. Birds peck at the apples, leaving holes that can lead to disease. So you can see the bird had pecked a hole in the apple there. Diseases may also attack the trunk, the leaves, and the fruit. That's kind of like what the bark is for, to help protect against diseases and insects and stuff. So that helps protect the trunk. And the skin on the apple helps protect against diseases too. Apple tree enemies. Apples and apple trees provide food for many animals, and some of those animals can cause harm. Some insects destroy the tree's leaves. Other pests lay their eggs in the tree. When the eggs hatch, caterpillars crawl into the apples. They eat the fruit. Here it says, deer eat apples and may also nibble on the tree's bark. We have deer that come to our backyard, and I've never seen them chew on the bark, but they will stand right up on their hind legs and go try to grab those apples. It's actually kind of funny. They look like they're dancing. Crafting the tastiest fruit. Most of the apples we eat are not from trees grown from a single seed. Instead, growers join the roots and bottoms from one tree to the shoots from another. This process is called grafting. It uses the best parts of each apple plant to make a stronger tree. And then it says apple trees usually live to be more than 100 years old. That's older than a lot of people live. And then it says bottom from one tree, You can see it kind of it's cut off right there, and then shoots from another tree, and then they stick it in the bottom from one tree, and it's called grafting. It's a graft union. So they stick it in there and then it starts growing that way. That's interesting. Time to sleep. Winter arrives and the weather is cold. The branches of the tree are bare. Some apples on the ground begin to rot. That makes the soil rich. Animals may carry away other fallen fruit. New trees can grow from those seeds. The apple trees will sleep all through the winter. When spring comes, blossoms and apples will begin to grow all over again. So the apples will fall off onto the ground and they'll rot, and that helps make the soil rich. And what they mean by rich, they don't mean that the soil gets a bunch of money. That'd be silly. That means that it's rich with nutrients. It has lots of nutrients, which means that it's like a lot of vitamins and minerals that make the ground healthy, and it makes the trees healthy. And then the trees can grow from the seeds that come from the apples that rotted away. And then the trees they sleep through the winter. It looks like they die because all the leaves fall off, but it just kind of goes into a hibernation. And then when spring comes, it starts all over again. Apple and apple tree facts. The apple tree is a plant in the rose family. Other plants in that family include roses, like that, pears, peaches, cherries, and almond trees. So you get, from the same family, you get roses, pears, peaches, cherries, and almonds. That's interesting. Did you know that? There are more than 7,500 kinds of apples grown in the world. Some popular kinds are red and golden delicious, Macintosh, Honeycrisp, Granny Smith, and Pink Lady. What's your favorite kind? I think mine's Honeycrisp. I think that's my favorite one. Either Honeycrisp, maybe Golden Delicious. Those are really good too. Most apples are red, green, or golden, but there are rare black diamond apple. That's that one right there. It looks like it's kind of purple. It is a dark purple color. It grows only in the mountains of Tibet in Asia. That's why I've never seen one, because they grow far away from us, very far away from us. Like, if you know how far away like Florida and California is, it's even farther than that. It's really far. Tiny crab apples or wild apples are not so good for eating. They're too tart, but they taste good in jam. Yeah, I've had crab apples before. I've eaten them. They're very tart or sour tasting. They don't taste very good. And actually, if you eat too many of them, you can get tummy ache. That's not fun. The Hawaii mountain apple, which is that right there, is small and has an unusual shape for an apple. It looks more like a pear. Yeah, it looks like a red pear or maybe like kind of like a pepper. That's an interesting looking apple. Has anybody ever seen that? I've never seen that before. It takes about 36 apples to make 1 gallon of apple cider. So, in order to think about how much a gallon is, think about if you when you go to the store and you buy the big jug of milk, that's a gallon. So in order to make that much apple juice, it takes 36 apples. That's a lot of apples. Apples float in water. That's because they have so much air inside them. Did you know that apples floated in water? That means they're less dense than the water. So anything that has lots of air in it will be less dense than the water. Growing up from seed to apple. Apples are grown on every continent except Antarctica. Each yummy fruit grows on a tree that started from a seed. So apples literally grow everywhere in the world except for Antarctica. And that's because it's like basically always winter down there. So there's nowhere to, they wouldn't have any time to blossom. That, and I don't know how rich the soil is either. I'm not sure about that. Apples that fall to the ground leave behind seeds that may grow into a new tree. Seeds. The seeds from inside the apple sink into the ground. Seedling. The seeds grow into a baby tree called a seedling. Tree. When the tree is 5 to 8 years old, it is ready to grow apples. Tree with blossoms. In spring, new branches grow and blossoms appear. After the blossoms fall off, apples start to grow. Tree with apples. In autumn or fall, the apples are ripe. They are ready to eat. Yum. Apple. Apples that fall to the ground leave behind seeds that may grow into a new tree. And it starts all over again. Then it turns into seeds, then seedling, then tree, and so on. That is the life cycle of an apple. All right, that is the end of our story. It's a little bit of a longer one, but it was very informational, and I enjoyed it. And I hope you did too. Once again, it is called Growing Up, Seed to Apple. Don't forget to like and subscribe.